is a candidate that we have had yet to speak with. And you know what? I've actually never even met her. Christy McLaughlin joining us right now. Christy, it's a pleasure to have you on. First of all, let me give everybody your website, ChristyForCongress.com. That's CHRISTY, ChristyForCongress.com. I don't think we've met, have we?
I don't think we have, but it's so good that I get to talk to you finally. Hiya, friend.
Well, it's great to have you on. Christy, I asked if we've met because I do know that you come to the table with a lot of experience in grassroots Republicans groups, the various Republican clubs. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Sure. So, it is actually odd that you and I have never met in person because I have been a part of almost every Republican club I could get acquainted with here in this area, Southwest Florida, since I turned 18 years old. I was just a very strong advocate and very conservative, and so I had been involved for a long time through the grassroots organizations. And yeah, it's kind of odd that we never met, but I'm a proud conservative and a lifelong Southwest Florida resident. And so I'm so excited, and it's so humbling to get to run in this area as a Republican because this is something that I feel like has been calling me and in the making for a long time.
So why? Why are you running?
So the reason that I'm running, and you already made the comments about Francis Rooney. It's 2020. We cannot afford to have a complacent leader. We can't afford to have a dishonest leader who says he's going to do one thing when he's in office and then turns around and does another. And, we need somebody who's an extremely strong conservative that has the energy to take on this radical leftist agenda that is literally plaguing the country. I am the only JD in this race. I've got my Juris Doctor degree. I studied, and my focus was the Constitution, so I'm a constitutional lawyer. And, this is my home. I have to protect it, and I have to advocate for it. And I think it's time that we have a strong leader who's really going to back Southwest Florida.
I would never ask age, but you brought it up.
Yes.
If you don't want to answer, Christy, totally fine.
Of course.
I'm sure that it would be public record. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 24 years old. I'm the youngest person in the country running for Congress.
And if you won, you would be the youngest person ever. Isn't it 25? Would you have to hit the birthday?
I will be turning 25 on August 7th.
That's 11 days before the primary.
11 days before the primary.
Wow.
So it's funny, though, because I would be making history as the youngest woman ever elected to Congress, and I'd be taking the honor away from the ever infamous AOC.
That'd be great. Christy, let me go back to just some of the realities of running in this atmosphere. Having run for Congress before, in this COVID-19 situation that we're in, I would imagine, and look, correct me if I'm wrong here, give me blowback, whatever, but you've talked about your extensive involvement in the Republican Party at the grassroots level, the club levels. But this race has to be difficult for a grassroots candidate, given that there really isn't a whole lot of meetings or forums or debates. Is there a way to overcome that?
It's a lot of creativity. That's my secret to grassroots right now. So it is still that one-on-one communication. It's still contacting voters directly and, just staying in touch with the community. But it's through a lot more creative ways than the, already established door knocking or, going to events. This is more social media, texting, and utilizing every opportunity online to communicate with people. And I've had great success. Actually, I did a Washington Times interview. That was the first time I made national news, was because I started campaigning on Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble.
Whoa. Time out. You're campaigning on Tinder. Tinder's like the notorious hookup app. What do you...
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing?
It was a very funny thing.
What,
it was so funny.
Well, hold up. How do you, can you advertise on Tinder? Or you just put a profile up, and when people are swiping, oh my God, I'm giving away that I know things about Tinder, I'm a married man. But what people swipe and they just see, hey, I'm Christy, visit me online at christyforcongress.com. I'm running for the Republican nomination.
That is exactly what they saw. And in my biography, I told like my main platform points. I had the campaign email for direct contact. And then I had a bunch of pictures as well. So, instead of posting some sexier photos of myself to get a boyfriend, I was posting campaign photos or photos that were related to an issue.
And to get votes.
You would be shocked. You would be shocked how few inappropriate messages I got and how many people I actually got asking me about certain issues.
Christy McLaughlin.
It was really amazing.
Christy McLaughlin's on the line with us right now. She's running for Congress in Congressional District 19. For you listening in this area, it's the overwhelming majority of you that she would represent if elected in Congress. Christy, I want to get to some of the issues, but maybe we segue into them through this. If you were elected, what committees do you think that you'd like to be on, and why?
That's a really good question because there's so many things that I would like to cover. I would love to be on a budgeting committee. I think that's very important. I would love to get on some education committees, some immigration committees, because they're more personal. They come to heart. But more importantly than ever, I have some very big legislative bills that I would like to establish in my first 60 days as well. So it's not just about my plans for committees so much as I have the first 60 days mapped out if I am elected, because I've got so many plans for this area and for the American people that I feel, has been brewing and needs to happen to protect our constitutional rights.
That said, what type of legislation do you think you'd first pursue, introduce, sign on to, co-sponsor? What would you look at?
Well, President Trump just very famously announced that he would stop funding for universities and colleges that are indoctrination institutions. And that is something that's very, very important to me. And I would love to introduce a bill that protects the fundamental rights of the students. Students are incurring tremendous amount of debt, student loans, and paying a tremendous amount of money into their education, yet they have no protection or rights, particularly when it comes to free speech. And we know that schools have the ability to use their discretionary power to, give poor grades or to interfere with the student's education, basically monopolizing who gets to graduate and move on to a career. So that's one big thing that I would love to do. And then another thing is China accountability. It's time, especially everything that's gone on with this coronavirus. We need to hold China accountable. And I would really like to ensure that the $1.3 trillion that we have in debt to China is waived and forgiven, at least to begin, making us whole again in the restitution for this coronavirus.
Christy McLaughlin's on the line with us right now, running for Congress here in Southwest Florida. You can visit her online, christyforcongress.com. You can also find her on Twitter and Facebook. If you just go to her website, though, you can find all of the links there, as well as extensive information on where she stands, her bio, and more. Christy, let's get to some sort of topical events. Again, going back to COVID-19, we've talked a little bit about how it's affected politics, and I don't think for the better. I think, unfortunately, grassroots candidates really, really get the shaft in this all over the United States. But let's talk about business, the economy. Look, I get flack because I think I've tried to be diplomatic about at first flattening the curve. I think that we've walked down really dangerous territory where you have state and local governments just arbitrarily shutting down businesses. But again, I've tried to be diplomatic and understanding. We're starting to see a surge again of more COVID numbers, albeit death is going down. Can you give us your take on, let's just kind of run through things. Should governments be mandating masks? And then if you could move into the bigger picture of how you think the federal government plays a role in either the current situation of COVID-19 or the recovery.
I'm so glad you asked this because I have been probably the loudest constitutional warrior on this issue. In fact, as of today, I was in the Collier County Government Center since 8:30 in the morning, and I didn't get back until about 45 minutes ago because they were voting on mandating masks in Collier County. And they also attempted that recently in Cape Coral, which I was also there to speak out against. So what we have seen is tremendous government overreach. And it's just abuse of our constitutional rights and fundamental rights. And it is a slippery slope. What we see every time they say we have to control the spread, what they're really is trying to say is they are going to control the people. And it's just an excuse, almost as if it's an agenda to push further the line to what kind of government overreach we will allow when there is some external threat that, causes enough fear to infringe on those constitutional rights. So that said, I think government's role needs to be err on the side of caution and to, maintain healthcare freedom. The individual is the person who knows what is best for their own health care. And we have to ensure that we don't mandate masks because we're just leading down into another precedent for mandatory vaccines and other encroachments on our health care as well. It's just a very dangerous subject.
Christy McLaughlin on the line with us right now. ChristyForCongress.com is her website where you can go to. Hey, I'll wrap up with this. I'm a budget nerd, and we're going to have some long-term consequences to pay for all of the stimulus we've just done and the printing of money with the COVID crisis. I'll let you get as specific as you'd like, but can you talk at all about either mandatory spending or where we could cut or have reforms to shape up our deficits and eventually deal with our debt?
Absolutely. So some people call me a bit radical, I suppose. I'm a radical conservative. But, it's not an enumerated power, so I don't take issue with that. One way that we can really diminish the spending is if we cut government funding for government programs that should not exist in the first place. For example, the Department of Education needs to be cut. It is not an enumerated power. And, I propose that we start getting rid of some of these government entities and government groups that should not exist. They're not enumerated powers. It's not a federal issue. And it's just spending where spending should not be happening. And if we can remove that spending, then at least we can start going towards a more balanced budget.
All right. Christy McLaughlin, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Again, you can learn more about Christy McLaughlin at ChristyForCongress.com. That's CHRISTY, ChristyForCongress.com. A lot of information there, and from there you can also find her social media links as well. Christy, thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Trey. Have a good day.
I hope to meet you sometime as well, and thank you so much for your time this evening. Best of luck. Again, Christy is running for Congress in Congressional District 19. For you listening, it's the overwhelming majority of you, Lee County, most of Collier County. A big thank you again to Christy McLaughlin. This is The Drive. I'm Trey Radel. Be right back.